Hey, how you doing? Well, this is Stan. I got a quick update for you on this Harbor Freight Workbench. Well, I'm right in the middle of a solar panel project. Got a video on that coming up in, I don't know, a couple of weeks maybe. So the workshop is in a bit of a state here, but I had a viewer who had some questions about what I did to this Harbor Freight Workbench. And so it's really hard to describe things down in the comments on YouTube videos. You can't put pictures and things like that. So one of the reasons I do these videos is to have fun and do things that can be helpful for people from time to time. I know I've been helped by a lot of how to do videos on YouTube. So this is a way of me paying it back if other people can be helped by some of the things that I'm working on. Anyway, let's take a look at this bench really quick. So the typical scenario here in the workshop, this is my assembly and workbench. I do everything on it from woodworking to metalworking and things like that. So it's very, very general purpose. The top kind of gets beat up, and this is a, depending on when you buy it, like a $150 workbench. If you've priced plywood lately, you know that's, I've paid almost that for a sheet of nice plywood. But anyway, this is not a $400 bench, it's not $800, it's not $1,500, and it doesn't pretend to be. It's a very simple, basic workbench. You'd be hard-pressed to build one for the same amount of money. It typically comes with drawers. There's a few different manufacturers who make a similar type bench. It's not exotic hardwoods. It's just a plain old workbench. And it fits in my shop really perfectly. Let me swing the camera around. You can see I've got a moving bench over here with a bunch of junk on it. That I have to, it's on casters, it has to move. And then I have another Harbor Freight bench over here. I apologize, everything's in a mess. I got the shop torn up because I'm working on a couple projects at the same time. So I'll put a link up here somewhere that shows the assembly of this bench. But what I want to do really quickly is just demonstrate how this bench gets used and what I did to it to kind of stiffen it up. I did not use the drawers that come with this bench. This is in the center of the workshop, and I walk always on the two sides of it, not so much on the ends. But having drawers that come out were not very useful for me. So instead of the drawers, I added a 3/4 inch shelf here, and I added a shelf down here on the bottom, and it gives me extra storage space, and it adds a little bulk to the bench. Not so much bulk that you can see I can slide it around. It's pretty firmly attached to the floor, and that I think is due on the ends. There's a little bit of a relief cut on the legs, so even though there's a cross member below the legs, it still only touches the ground in about 4 places. So garage floors are notoriously not very level. But anyway, that's what I did instead of the drawers. Let me zoom down and you can get a closer look. So here's a little 3/4 inch ply. These are things I didn't buy. They were just leftovers from other projects I was working on. There's a stringer, 3/4 inch stringer that goes all the way around, kind of forming a box. And then on top of that, I put this shelf, and you can see I store stuff and throw things in there when I'm working on it. This down here was the shelf that came with the bench. And then down below, I added another shelf so things wouldn't sit on the ground. I added another piece of scrap plywood on the very base. The other thing I did was, you see that little vertical member? I just put a little stiffening in the center since I wasn't using the shelf package, just to take some of the bounce out of the middle. And these come with the kit. They're kind of like the side panels to the drawers. On these benches that have spindly legs and across the top, basically you need just some sort of a panel that keeps the bench from rocking this way, basically adding a triangular bracing moment, and you can do that with just a scrap square piece of plywood. That's what I did. This is the one that came with the kit again, and this is the little stringer that I added to support the shelf. and you can see here's the stringer that goes end to end and the shelf on top. And adding weight to any of these shelves helps the bench as well. Well, I do most of my assembly and construction on this workbench, and it works out great for me. It was very inexpensive. So I don't know how to describe how much movement there is in the bench. Let me zoom in and I'll show you just a really quick hand tool operation, and you can get an idea for yourself, hopefully. So here you can see my coffee cup. This will be the coffee cup test, and that'll give you some idea of how much wiggle there is in the bench. I've got a piece of poplar here. Let me put a few strokes on it in this direction. Of course, lengthwise, the bench is going to be always more stable than crossways because the span of the legs is greater. Here's some okay, there's some action. Now let's go crossways. Let me put a piece of wood in crossways. Okay, that's pretty rough action when you're hand planing crossways on the table. You're really stretching it to its maximum. So I bang on this thing. You know, it's an inexpensive bench, so frankly, it's almost disposable. I don't worry about it. It's not like a $2,000 Norwegian bench of some kind where I'm scared to even look at it. This is just my workbench. Because I do all sorts of projects on here, from electronics to metalworking to woodworking, this is an invaluable tool. It's a metal profile scraper, card scraper, and after every single project I go through and clean this top, because I can have tiny pieces of metal that get embedded into the wood on here, and I don't want them ripping up the next project coming along. Maybe I'll do some metal work, and then the next project is some finished carpentry, and little bits of metal would destroy what you're working on. So a tool like this is invaluable for benchtop maintenance. So is it ultra flat? Probably not. Is it ultra stable? No. But it's a great bench. I enjoy working on it. It doesn't let me down. It doesn't tip over. It doesn't move too much. Hope this has been helpful. See you right here. I got a video coming up at the end of the week. See you guys later. Thanks.